My name is David Randle, one of the three coordinators, along with my colleague Noel Brown and Chris Fallman, to coordinate this International Day series. Dr. Noel Brown was scheduled to be our moderator this evening. He is en route, so as soon as he comes, I'll gladly relinquish the podium to let him take over. Ed Begley called. He's also en route. We hope he'll be here with us shortly. He got stopped for an hour or so with a tractor-trailer turnover on 75 coming down here, so he's on his way, but hopefully he'll be here soon. But we'd like to begin with a welcome and proclamation from our Green Mayor of St. Petersburg, Rick Baker.
I'd like to add my welcome and thank you for being here at World Ocean Day as we celebrate World Ocean Day and World Environment Day. And say that the city of St. Petersburg is so honored to have such an incredible group of scientists that have converged in our city and here at the Progress Energy Center for the Arts and the Mahaffee Theater to be able to hold forums and to learn more about the important issues relating to our ocean. The ocean and marine science is critical to St. Petersburg, as all of us know. One of the reasons most of us came here is because of the beautiful environment that we have, the ability to interact with the Gulf of Mexico and the water, and preserving that environment is absolutely key and fundamental to us as a city, and we have been very focused on that in a host of different ways, which is one reason why I guess it's just been about 3 weeks ago that the Green Building Coalition designated St. Petersburg as the first designated green city in the state of Florida. And we are committed to making sure that we continue that, and then we're constantly looking for ways that we can both improve the environment of the city of St. Petersburg, but also the environment of the world around us. A second reason that the ocean is so important to our city is because we have become, thanks to Dr. Peter Betzer and many others working with them, one of the world's great marine science centers for study here in St. Petersburg. We have the University of South Florida Department of Marine Science. We have the Coast Guard Sector St. Petersburg for the west coast of Florida is based here. NOAA is here. USGS is here. Center for Ocean Technology is here. And recently SRI International just opened SRI St. Petersburg here, as well as many other opportunities to learn and study about marine science. So it's very appropriate that, that World Ocean Day should be celebrated here and studied here. And I thank everybody who has organized and participated in making this, this event a success, especially the St. Petersburg Environmental Research Center and, of course, our own USF St. Petersburg. And in honor of that and in recognition of that, I have this awesome power, and that's the power to declare proclamations in the city of St. Petersburg. And with that, I'm going to read a proclamation of the city of St. Petersburg. Whereas everyone on our planet is connected and affected by the oceans, and whereas the world's ocean covers 70% of our planet, and whereas it is critical to educate the public and promote stewardship among children and adults alike, and whereas the city of St. Petersburg is known for its concern and work for the healthy oceans through a variety of institutions, including the United States Coast Guard Sector St. Petersburg, SRI St. Petersburg, International Oceans Institute USA, the USF College of Marine Science, National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, U.S. Geological Survey, Florida Fish and Wildlife Research Institute, the Pier Aquarium, and the Florida Institute for Oceanography. That is quite a group. And whereas the city of St. Petersburg is providing leadership for the International Coastal Cities Summit, along with the International Oceans Institute USA and the St. Petersburg Environmental Research Center, now therefore I, Rick Baker, Mayor of the city of St. Petersburg, do hereby proclaim June 8, 2007, World Ocean Day in St. Petersburg, and ask everyone to join with me in recognizing how valuable the ocean truly is, and join in the celebration of World Ocean Day on June 8th and 9th as part of the International Day series at the Mahaffee Theater at the Progress Energy Center for the Arts. Thank you very much for being here.
Next we have Dr. Paul Boyle, whose background is the director of the New York aquarium, brings a lot of science and education into the Ocean Project, but he is now the president and CEO of the World Ocean Project, probably the #1 group in the world, not probably, it is the #1 group in the world, spearheading the creation of World Ocean Day as one of the official UN International Days. So, Dr. Paul Boyle.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you all for being here. Obviously, today we're here to call attention to the oceans. In 1997, we founded the Ocean Project with a very simple mission. It's to increase public awareness of the importance and value and the sensitivity of the oceans. Several years ago, we conducted the largest national survey ever done in North America to understand people's knowledge and feelings about the ocean. And what we found was startling. It was really shocking to me to learn how extremely low the level of public awareness about the oceans really is, everywhere we looked, inland as well as on the coasts. You might ask, well, why should we be so concerned about low ocean awareness? And stated simply, the mayor touched on this a little bit, all life on Earth depends on the oceans, period. The oceans control our climate. They produce 70% of Earth's oxygen. You've heard that global warming is real, and the ocean is going to be dramatically changed as a result of that. And when the ocean is changed, the lives of people all over the world will be changed as well. A healthy ocean is, in fact, Earth's life support system. Today, many scientists have realized that there are growing problems in the ocean. You hear about ocean overfishing, depleting food supplies, pollution degrading coastal areas. Ocean warming is affecting many species, from coral reefs to polar bears. And melting polar ice caps will affect hundreds of millions of people around the world as sea level rises, possibly as much as 20 feet. The Ocean Project studies showed that we simply must raise people's awareness that a healthy ocean is vital for human survival. Public awareness is crucial because citizens tell their governments what to pay attention to. And when citizens are not aware that the oceans affect them every day, then their governments simply neglect the oceans. So to raise ocean awareness, many conservation groups around the world are working to have the United Nations officially designate June 8th as World Oceans Day. Today is actually the 15th annual celebration of World Ocean Day, but it is not officially designated by the United Nations. Now, why official designation? What's the point of that? Well, with UN designation of World Ocean Day, it will focus attention on the fact that governments are neglecting the ocean. Official designation of World Ocean Day will stimulate the media to pay attention on an annual basis to ocean events, and that will get people to pay more attention. An official designation will bring governments and scientists and conservation organizations together to create targets for government action and ways to involve people in protecting the ocean for today and for future generations. Coming to a close of my comments here, we've created a website where you will find a petition to the United Nations calling for the official designation of World Ocean Day. It's a very simple website to remember. It's just www.worldoceanday.org. We want to get 1 million people or more, if that's possible, to sign the petition as a strong statement that the citizens from around the world want the oceans protected. Most people feel, if you talk to people in your neighborhood or where you work, most people feel that they really can't do much acting alone, and this is one of the results of our survey work. We've found this everywhere we've looked. You talk to people and they say, well, what can I do as an individual? What we're trying to do is to get people to think instead of what millions of us speaking together will sound like. So I'm asking the media here tonight, and I'm asking all of you to go home and talk to your neighbors, talk to your families, tell people we need their help, tell them that their voice can be heard, tell them that they can make a difference, tell them to sign the petition for the official designation of World Ocean Day, and tell them please to go to the website www.worldoceanday.org. Thank you very much.
Next, we have from the United Nations, Vladamir Golitsn, who just completed 25 years of service at the United Nations, most recently as their director of the Division of Ocean Affairs, where, among other things, his division was responsible for implementing the Law of the Sea Treaty, which we hope the United States will soon become party to. Vladimir Golitsn.
Thank you, and it's a great honor to be at this meeting. Those of us who participated in the Law of the Sea Conference and the preparatory work for the completion and adoption of the Convention on the Law of the Sea experienced deep frustration after the adoption of that convention because law of the sea issues sort of disappeared from the world agenda. And we are very happy that these days are in the past. World oceans and all matters related to the oceans are back on the agenda of the United Nations and on other world fora. And we are very pleased with this. And the reason for that is that there is growing recognition of the role that oceans are playing in our life. There is growing recognition that without due respect, without proper management, we may destroy our life if we disregard what's happening in the oceans. And I would say that the United Nations currently has an agenda for the oceans which highlights the most important issues. But I think that designation of the Ocean Days as the United Nations Day would give it a completely new momentum. Because there is certain fragmentation among various agencies, United Nations and programs, and we need everyone to be unified and to work together. I think that one of the main issues which is currently on the agenda how actually we should manage oceans. And I think that there are two main trends in this regard. First of all, we are actually going through a process when we rediscovering what oceans are. There was such a tremendous development in our knowledge about oceans in the last 5 years that, for example, if you look at the question of the outer limit of the continental shelf, and you look at the provisions of the Law of the Sea Convention related to this issue, and you bring in new knowledge, it will be like 20 years ago you were blindfolded, and now you have glasses and you completely rediscover the world and ocean floor, and you better understand the issue of tsunamis and how systems interact. So there are new emerging issues such as biodiversity, genetic resources, which we should concentrate in order to prevent repeating mistakes that we have completed in managing oceans in the past. And at the same time, there are current actually pressing issues, and one of them is how do we manage the oceans, and here I think that the answer is that we should insist on ecosystem management approach to the way how we develop our activities in the oceans. The United Nations recently, last year, devoted a special meeting of the informal consultative process to the ecosystem management, and it was recognized that one of the main difficulties that we experience, that although everyone now says, yes, we would like to apply ecosystem approach, but in reality, very few people understand what it really means. So you have to educate policymakers and administrators who are involved in this process so they really can understand what ecosystem management is, they not to be frightened by it. And I can tell you from my own experience, many years ago as a negotiator from the former Soviet Union, I was involved in negotiating Convention on Antarctic Marine Living Resources. And this is where the first time ecosystem approach was introduced. And being a lawyer for a country with one of the biggest distant fishing fleets, I was sort of puzzled first, and of course I had 17-member delegation that was very reluctant to adopt it. But it required a process of self-education and better understanding. And I'm very happy that eventually we managed to overcome all these difficulties, and the convention was adopted, and it has become one of the most successful actually fishery arrangements that exist currently in the world. I think that ecosystem management, I said, it should be demystified, and we should actually train and explain what it really means. But there is another issue which was mentioned at this meeting. This is the pressure that coastal cities are experiencing recently. 2 weeks ago, I attended a conference in Venice that was convened on the issue conservation and management of the Mediterranean and Black Sea ecosystem. And one of the speakers at the opening was Mayor of Venice, who was very vocal in highlighting the problems that are experienced by coastal cities. He actually said that unless we take urgent matters, some of the cities will suffer significantly, and there is a growing pressure on them. Of course, one can understand Venice, because Venice is sort of sinking underwater, and unless they take very urgent measures, the situation will continue degrading. But I think it was quite visible that this issue of coastal state cities is an emerging issue, and given the fact that the growing number of population moving to the coastal areas and that the pressure on coastal environment significantly increases, and there is a growing increase in the pressure on cities located on sea and ocean coast. So this issue requires attention, and I think it's a wonderful idea to organize a World Summit of mayors of the coastal state cities. So I think that this event will give us an opportunity to exchange views, to discuss matters, and I would like to thank the organizers for actually bringing this event. Thank you.
Mayor, in his proclamation, mentioned the Coastal City Summit, which now has two major sponsors, the International Ocean Institute, USA, and the St. Petersburg Environmental Research Center, which is the financial sponsor of the International Day series. We're pleased tonight to have the director of IOI USA, Dr. Chris Delia, to share with us some thoughts on IOI USA and the Coastal City Summit. Dr. Delia.
Thank you, Dave. I represent not only the International Ocean Institute USA, but also the University of South Florida Saint Petersburg, which is the local host for IOI USA. And I hasten to mention that this is the first operational center of the International Ocean Institute located in the United States. There are 25 other operational centers around the world in other countries, and it's headquartered on the island of Malta in the Mediterranean. We have a wonderful array of co-sponsors for this event we're about to enjoy, from the city to the St. Petersburg Environmental Research Center, and certainly having it at the Progress Energy Center for the Arts, Mahaffee Theater, is a wonderful, wonderful thing, and we welcome all our visitors to St. Pete. We celebrate the oceans for their beauty and their bounty, and as other speakers are quick to remind us, the oceans are in real trouble. I just mentioned a few statistics that I like to quote to people. At least 2/3 of marine and estuarine commercial fish species are fully or overexploited. We have a real threat from anthropogenic CO2 in terms of the acidification of the ocean. This threatens the very existence of coral reefs. The same CO2 emissions are causing the global change that others have talked about, that IPCC conservatively estimates will increase sea level by up to 1 meter in the next 100 years. And that's a conservative estimate by some people, and that would have profound effects right here where I'm standing right now. The disruption of the nitrogen cycle on Earth is having also profound effects in terms of the nutrient over-enrichment of the ocean, particularly coastal areas, which leads to hypoxia and loss of habitat. And poor human stewardship is leading to alarming habitat changes along coastlines everywhere. Now, as everybody knows, whales and dolphins don't have the ability to vote to protect their interests, and marine fishes and invertebrates don't have representation in any legislative body around the earth. So it's really up to us human beings to do something about ocean stewardship and management, and we're failing miserably in that right now. And I certainly hope that this event, World Ocean Day, does something to raise the visibility about these terrible challenges that we face and that we can measure up to. I also want to do a little advertising for the Coastal Ocean Summit that is in the advanced planning stages right now from the 17th to the 20th of November in 2008, held right here and also at the Trade Winds in St. Pete Beach. This is going to be a very exciting event. Mayor Baker is the host mayor for this. This is really aimed at having mayors and counterpart officials from around the world come to discuss issues that pertain to the coast. After all, mayors are the first ones, whenever a disaster hits, that have to respond. They're the ones that have to deal with the incredible development we're seeing along coastal areas around the whole world. So they need to be meeting together and sharing their best practices, etc. So we're looking forward to hosting the event, and we're looking forward to seeing everybody in this room there. Thank you.
In 1992, when I was still working with John Denver, we were at the Earth Summit. And because many people wanted to have a photo op with John, the numbers that wanted to do that were impossible for John to even meet a fraction of the request. And I remember my colleague Bruce Gordon saying to John, well, who are the priorities that we have to be with? And John responded, really only two people, Jacques Cousteau and Noel Brown. Well, you're going to get a chance not to meet Jacques Cousteau, but one of the Cousteau family members this evening, and you'll also get a chance to meet Dr. Noel Brown. So you'll get two of these picks in one evening here. I later had the opportunity to meet Jacques Cousteau's son, Jean-Michel, where we did a program together for the Salt Lake Olympics. But this is my first time to meet Phillipe, who has done extraordinary work as the new ocean correspondent for the Discovery Animal Planet channel and the new organization he has, Earth Echo International, which is doing incredible work to get the awareness out on oceans and critical issues on the environment around the world, to civil society particularly. So it's my honor to welcome Phillipe Cousteau.
Well, I am delighted to be here. Thank you. I was lucky. I think it was one of the last planes that was able to land with the Lightning. So just made it in, and unfortunately Noel is on his way, and I think he was right after me. So he did not yet, but we're going to get to meet with him in a little bit. I've known Noel for many years and looking forward to when he approached me about this event to be able to come down here and share this. I think it's a wonderful event, and thank you for the proclamation. It's certainly appropriate. The oceans have been getting a lot more attention over the last few years, which is a great sign that we are making progress from a public education perspective and an appreciation perspective, an awareness perspective. Because the oceans, as Paul mentioned, truly are the life support system of this planet. And we face serious, serious problems, many of which have already been discussed this afternoon, this evening. I remember growing up with stories from my grandfather about all the adventures and expeditions that he had been on, and growing up with the films like The Silent World from 1953, which was one of the first glimpses for people of what rested or lived beneath the ocean. And subsequent to those years and those films, having gone back to some of those places myself, having seen what a drastic difference there has been just in the last 50 years, that the irony, I think, is that the last 50 years, half century, has seen the greatest expansion of our knowledge of what lies in the ocean. And yet in that same time, there has been the greatest degradation of what lies and lives within the ocean. And that is, though a negative message, there is a positive one to that, because as we move forward today, I find a lot of hope, a lot of positive things happening. a growing awareness around the country that it's not just those of us that live on the coast that have an impact or that rely upon the ocean, but those of us everywhere. Just off the coast here, the famous dead zone of the Gulf of Mexico, a space the size of New Jersey where certain times of the year nothing can survive because there's not enough oxygen, is caused in large part by agriculture and farming from all the way up as far as the Dakotas that find its way into the Mississippi River and south into the Gulf of Mexico. We are all connected. We truly live in a global world. And to underscore this point, I remember about 10 years ago, I was on expedition in Papua New Guinea, an island nation just north of Australia. And we went up to the highlands that for many decades, for millennia, had really been cut off from the rest of the world. And this specific area where I was really only had exposure to the West since the 1960s, 1970s. So they were still relatively, at least technologically, unadvanced. And I remember seeing people in grass skirts and bones or feathers, depending on the tribe, in their noses, and ornate headdresses and painting, and still went to war with bows and arrows. And yet some of them had Lakers t-shirts on. And all the way up there, in some of the most remote parts of the world, people were already being exposed and were connected to us, or at least to Los Angeles. So I think that helps to remind, they say you have to see it to believe it, that we really do live in a global world, and that the impacts and the things, the actions that we take, no matter where we are, have an action or an impact on the rest of the world. Indeed, we see coal dust from China landing on the beaches of the Bahamas. So with that, I think it's important for us to advance the message that we bring to people, that it's not just about awareness. Awareness is a critical first step. But as Paul said, what we need is action. What we need people to understand is that the actions that each of us take has a tremendous impact on the world around us, and the choices that we all make. And I would argue it's not that we can make a difference, because every single choice that we make, every action we take makes a difference. If we decide to dump our oil down the drain, or if we decide to water our all too large lawns in some cases, or use too many pesticides or fertilizers, whatever it may be, we're making a difference. So the question we need to ask ourselves is, what kind of a difference are we making? And that's what's critical. And to raise the discussion and expand the conversation to that, and put that onus, as Paul said, on the individual, to help them to understand that they are empowered in a positive way to make choices every day, from the things that they buy to certainly who they vote for and what they do from a legislative perspective, because just like Pavlov's dogs, politicians respond to pressure and to specific stimuli in the form of votes. And if they think that conservation in the oceans are a vote-winning issue, they'll respond accordingly. So I think that, and I'm hopeful that we are making progress today, that people are empowered to make positive choices and to make a positive difference. And events like this are that movement towards making a positive difference and towards helping people to understand that. And I'm just thrilled to be a part of it. So thank you.
What I'd like to do is introduce Sir Peter Anderson. Sir Peter is the Secretary General of the Conch Republic. One of my mentors, the late Dr. Robert Allen, said that social change movements such as creating healthy, sustainable, peaceful ocean communities are long-term efforts. And if we're not having some fun at it, we're not going to sustain that effort very long. And Peter's the kind of person I've come to know that really makes sure that we all have fun doing these things. So, Sir Peter Anderson.
Thank you, Dave, and thanks to everybody who's organized this fantastic event. And Mr. Mayor, congratulations on your fabulous city. It's a pleasure to visit here, and a green city is a beautiful thing to see. And your leadership in this, and this beautiful center and what's going on within this community will have an impact far and wide. When you're doing the job, people know it. We're the world's first functioning meritocracy, we know. For those of you not familiar with the Conch Republic, we were born 25 years ago when the United States Border Patrol decided to treat us like a foreign country and set up a border at the head of the Keys. And to make a long story short, we decided if they were going to treat us like a foreign country, we'd go ahead and be one. And we seceded from the United States, declared war, surrendered immediately, demanding foreign aid. We're still waiting for the foreign aid 25 years later. Today, we stand proudly as the world's first fifth world nation, a sovereign state of mind that seeks only to bring more humor, simple human warmth, and respect to a planet we find in sore need of all three, especially lately. And we ask the world to look at our diversity, tell us they can't get along without shooting and killing each other. We have a stated foreign policy, which is the mitigation of world tension through the exercise of humor, because humor disarms. You can't fight when you're laughing. And we stand proudly as the people who seceded where others failed. And we watched our oceans dying. From the 90s when, as you were talking about, the Dakotas and Missouri and Indiana and Illinois went in 4 years through 3 historic flood cycles, the Ohio, the Missouri, the Mississippi, all the great rivers of the central core of the United States of America, and all those communities took a huge dump into the Gulf of Mexico. Every hog farm in Tennessee wound up in Key West, because we're at the end of the line. We're downstream from everything. The Gulf Loop current, the Gulf Stream current bring everything to us, and we've watched our reefs die in the last 20 years. I'm proud to be treasurer of Reef Relief, a 20-year environmental success story in Key West, working to save coral reefs in Florida and worldwide. And Craig Hirolo, our founder, got up before the meeting, our annual meeting a couple of years ago, and he said, well, my annual reef report, reef's dead. And that was pretty much it. We're seeing some branching corals coming back, but the quality of the water is horrible. People are coming out of the ocean around Key West now with forms of staph infections that nobody's ever seen before. Our oceans are dying, and they're dying rapidly. And as Chris talked about, carbon dioxide, nitrogen cycle, all of the things that are happening now on this planet leads the concrete public to announce tonight our new program called Save the Humans. Because if we can save the humans, the oceans can do a pretty good job of taking care of themselves. They've been doing it for millions of years. And we propose that as the cornerstone of our Save the Humans campaign, that every decision made be subjected to 3 fundamental tests. Is it funny? And we're not talking about the kind of funny where you're making fun of somebody, because there's no human warmth involved in that. Human warmth, what is that? You get cut, you bleed just like me. Your sweetie leaves you, your mommy dies, your heart breaks just like mine. So if it's not funny, and if it's not humanly warm, if it's not invested with compassion, as Phillipe Cousteau said, that we're all in this together on this planet, and if it's not respectful of yourself, of others, of the earth, of creation, of God, whatever you want to call it, don't do it. If it's not funny, it's not warm, it's not respectful, if it fails any part of the 3-way test, it's not a part of the Save the Humans campaign. This isn't rocket science. We're asked all the time as citizens to do what we can to help save this poor beleaguered planet. And I would remind the world that we have another kind of citizen that we created for our convenience as a society. And that's our corporate citizen. We invest in certain types of business with the powers to act in the world as if they were people. Some of our corporate citizens are rogue people. If we as individuals did what they do, and I'm talking about billions of metric tons of poisons and carcinogens being dumped into our biosphere every year, if we were doing that to our neighbors as a person, if I was poisoning my neighbor, I'd be in jail. What makes our corporate citizens so special that they can trash our planet in the name of greed and get away with it? So while, using biodegradable products and recycling and saving water and doing all the things I can to help the earth are things that I need to do and we all need to do, we also need to sit down and ask ourselves fundamentally as a society, are some of our citizens behaving with humor, warmth, and respect? And I would propose to you that they're not. And if we're going to save the humans, we have to begin by reforming the way a certain class of our citizens has come to believe that they can behave in this world. I leave you with that thought. I would like to present this conference and all the endeavors that it seeks to accomplish with a Conch salute. I hope this works. I'd like to present the mayor with a Conch Republic flag. We succeeded where others failed. Thank you, sir. It's my great honor to introduce the Supreme Commander of the Conch Republic's Armed Forces, First Sea Lord of the Conch Republic, and Admiral of the Conch Republic Navy, Admiral Finbar Gittleman of the flagship Schooner Wolf.
I'm very honored to be here amongst you all. I'm not a scientist, but I am a seaman, spent my life on the ocean, and very well aware of the changes that had been happening during my lifetime. As Sir Peter said, we are an island nation. Most of the folks there live by one way or another from the sea. And we know that, for example, if the ocean rises a meter, most of our nation will disappear. That goes for a lot of parts of the world, and we're aware of that. I'm very honored to be here, be part of this. The Conch Republic, well, I am the commanding officer of the Conch Republic Navy. The Conch Republic is a peaceful nation. We only go to war one day a year, and it's a ceremonial battle against the Coast Guard, a reenactment of the original battle, when we went out into the harbor and attacked a Coast Guard cutter with conch fritters, stale Cuban bread, and water. Well, we all had so much fun with that that we reenact it every year. But our message to the world, a tiny, tiny nation, but we like to feel like we have a big message, and that's that if a nation must go to war, if you use the right kind of ammunition, such as conch fritters and stale Cuban bread, nobody gets hurt, everybody has fun. That's the way wars should be fought. We have the distinction of being the last nation on Earth that still has a sail-propelled navy. Our flagship is in the harbor, and I'm hoping to take you folks, as many as we can, out sailing this evening and or tomorrow. Thank you very much for letting us be a part of this.
Thank you, Admiral Finbar. Now I'm going to invite the real moderator of this event tonight, my good friend and colleague, Dr. Noel Brown, who served over 20 years as director of the United Nations Environment Program for both the New York headquarters and North America, to make some concluding remarks.
Well, thank you very much, Dave. For a moment, I thought you'd have said, the late Dr. Brown has arrived. Ladies and gentlemen, my apologies for being late, Mr. Mayor especially, but we had a weather problem. We were coming in on time, and about a half an hour out, we had a weather band, and so we had to hold over Orlando, and only now just got in. But I think, Dave, thank you for the opportunity, because this is a moment when I think we should say thank you. I haven't heard all the statements. Sir Peter, you gave us a very stirring reminder of where the priorities are and what needs to be done, of the accelerating dangers to our oceans. And that rather paradoxically, most of us are very concerned about saving the seas, but maybe saving ourselves. And we may best save the seas by saving ourselves, because the oceans are the source of all life. And if you tamper with that system, then we may undo the fabric of life itself. So I think that reminder is important. I'm also grateful, sir, that you injected the tremendous element of humor, because humor gives a genial touch to life. When we laugh, we learn, and we always feel better in the presence of something funny. It's also the things we remember most are the funny things. And I think for those of us who are engaged in the grim work of reading statistics and looking at the impending fate of the earth, to every now and then take a moment to laugh, to treat it with respect, and to generate that tremendous sense of warmth, that gave me an embracing feeling, sir, that we'll be embracing each other and the earth. And I want to thank you for that very, very powerful message. Mr. Mayor, I felt very grateful, sir, and humbled to be in your presence. I met you in your office and was extremely impressed by the spirit that you represented and by the leadership that you're showing. We're very, very excited with your proclamation today because, ladies and gentlemen, those of us who serve the global cause often need to be reminded that the local community, the cities, are where the action really will make the difference. And I think, sir, your community, your city, under your leadership, is showing a great deal of promise. And we salute you. We hope that your action today will encourage other cities to celebrate and observe Oceans Day, and that the United Nations itself may formally declare such a day as we try to look at what is happening to the oceans and why we need to mobilize all our resources to protect and maintain the oceans. And finally, Chris, thank you very much for coming this afternoon. I wanted to salute you for the leadership that you've expressed and revealed as we set up this Oceans Institute at your university. You are now a member of the International Oceans Community, headquartered in Malta, and we believe that this is a first for the United States. We're looking forward to your giving us new impetus and energy, because the scholarship you have here, the resources that you have here, the advance that you're making in science and technology for the oceans, lead us to believe that this is perhaps one of the best decisions we have taken this year. And I look forward to working with you, sir, as I believe that we are well on the road. And finally, Phillipe, thank you very much for coming. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to date myself, but I knew Captain Cousteau over 25 years ago. We worked together. I flew with him to Latin America when he was doing the film on, it was called Snowflakes over Amazonia. And we had a chance to talk. We've known that he has been one of the few people, one of the few voices that provided great public access to the ocean for millions of people. And it made it a familiar place to most of us. And so we are very grateful that he did make those tremendous contributions that he has. I also met his sons, Phillipe and Jean-Michel, and worked with them for some time. Phillipe, as you know, passed away. But Jean-Michel is still doing tremendous, bold, and pioneering work for the oceans. And I think this is quite exciting. His Ocean Adventure series are now continuing the work of his father. And I think another generation will be very excited to learn about this. And you, Phillipe, I have met and I have worked with you. Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm trying to say is that one family, 3 generations, and they all retain a strong commitment to the oceans. I wish certainly this would inspire other families to take this kind of responsibility over time to make sure that we can not only make a contribution, but inspire successor generations. And so, Peter, I think your admonition is quite right. It's gathering force and speed. A few weeks ago, I was in China, and we were at a conference for the East Asian Seas. It was a summit-type conference. Ministers and high-level representatives was there. And we made the mistake of giving the podium to a 9-year-old. Because 9-year-olds are very frank. I mean, if you ask a 9-year-old to talk, and she said to the audience, when I was little, now how old do you have to be little? But when I was little, I used to come to the beach with my parents. And there we were playing along the shore, see all these very nice fish, and it was a very fine place to be. But now, when I come to the beach, I see a lot of dead fish. I see a lot of damage. And these dead fish, with their sad, glaring eyes, as if they're asking the question, what are you doing to our home? Now, ladies and gentlemen, this might seem at one level to be amusing, but in less than a decade, a child is able to demonstrate very graphically what's happening to the oceans. And I think perhaps as we develop early warning systems, it may not be the Phillipe Cousteaus, but the children who can remind us of what we're doing to their patrimony. And to a very large extent, I think the ocean stands very much in peril and need our help. My organization, the United Nations, is an organization attempting, and my friend Dr. Golitsn is here this evening. He worked on the Law of the Sea Convention and headed the department on the oceans and the seas. I'm glad that he took the time to come down, because I think, Dr. Golitsn, what you're doing, you're reinforcing my advocacy that we need to engage the local communities. We need to bring the people into the game. And I think you're here, sir, just affirmed that for us. So, ladies and gentlemen, happy Oceans Day. Thank you.